Welcome to Learn Literacy, the podcast that brings you inspiring conversations that focus on teaching literacy through language and structure. I am your host, Cheryl Urbanzik, an experienced educator and passionate advocate on a mission inspired by my family's experience with dyslexia. Each episode explores topics that help us understand how we can teach the language as it is to the student as they are. Tune in and become part of a community dedicated to supporting language for life. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Learn Literacy podcast, where we support the cause of language for life by teaching the structure of the language as it is to the student as they are. Today, I'm very excited with the practitioner profile, and I'm joined by Nazia Ansari from England. And I look forward to our conversation and learning about her OG journey and the important Orton Gillingham work that she does. So welcome, Nazia. Thank you for being
Thank you so
here.
much. Thank you for having me.
Well, you're welcome. Well, why don't we just start with your OG journey? When did you first hear about Orton Gillingham? How did you get to where you are now? And I should share with everyone that you're a fellow in training, which is a very exciting yet stressful
Me.
place to be.
Um, yeah, and thanks for asking that, Cheryl. I think my OG journey was it was an interesting one, and how I came onto it, because after I finished my master's degree, I sort of felt like, okay, I'm happy, but I want to do something more. Point, I was working with students in terms of teaching them written expression, how to write essays, and with their literature books and all this characterization and themes and all of that. And so I have always somehow deeply been involved in supporting students with learning differences as far as their literacy is concerned. And at that point, I have two dear friends and mentors, and I often would turn to them to say, what should I do? What do you think? So I remember opening up a group chat with my two friends and my husband and saying, okay, what do I do now? And they said, Orton Gillingham, Orton Gillingham. And I was like, well, don't
Neat.
know much about it, but I trust you wholeheartedly. And so I signed up for my associate course. And the first day I sat in that first session, I was hooked.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing the fellow and thinking, when I grow up, I want to be just like her. And sure enough, I think everyone knows I'm diehard OG.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because, yes, I'm currently in the UK, but I'm originally from Kenya. And in neither of those regions at the time, I mean, now there's growing knowledge, I guess, about OG in Kenya. In the UK, it's still growing, but at that time, there was very little knowledge. So I'd never heard of it before. So it was a pretty risky move for me to be going into something where just my background didn't know, if
Right.
that makes sense, or potential students that I work with, like, who am I going
Right.
to access? But it has just been, I think that was my journey. And so I did my associate, and shortly after that, I just jumped into my cert because I wanted more. I wanted more. I wanted more. And it was in the beginning of my cert that I was sitting and thinking, I want to train to be a fellow. And it was really hard for me to find a fellow to mentor me. But I think that was just life's way of saying slow down, because my keenness to go to become a fellow almost robbed me from enjoying the cert experience. So I very quickly had to say, stop, Nazia.
Mm-hmm.
When the time comes, we'll think about it then. Just savor everything you can for these 2 years. And so, sure enough, did my cert. And just at the tail end of it, I managed to get someone to mentor me as a fellow in training. And so that's where I am right now. Yeah, it's just, I think that it's grabbed me for sure. And it's kept me. Yeah, definitely.
I think that's so true, and is that experience of falling into the OG black hole takes us all over. I remember when I started my associate training, that was one of the things that the fellow said, that a lot of people just fall into the OG hole and stay there. And I think one thing that's similar to us in our journeys is the seeking of training. I'm in Canada, in Toronto area. You're in England. We're both in places where access isn't as common. So I think you probably had to take training through someone in the States. Is that right?
Yes.
Because there's nobody there. So
No,
you might
no.
be
I
the
mean, when
first
I was
fellow
doing
in
my
England,
cert,
which is so exciting.
I mean, there are no fellows. There are no fellows in the UK, no fellows in Kenya. And so when I was doing my cert course,
Mhm.
I'd be up until late. It was like bedtime, but my family's gone
Mhm.
to sleep.
Yeah.
And now when I'm doing my fit training, one of the courses took me until 4 o'clock in the morning because it's just geographically.
Right.
So, I mean, all of my trainings have been done with overseas fellows because there are none in this region.
Well, the effort brings so much fruit, and I'm sure your students are, really seeing that. So, I know you have a platform called Inclusivity Education.
Mhm.
Would you please share about that and how
No,
you're using OG in that way?
oh, no, thank you for asking about that. So inclusivity education is really it is my business. It's where I have been working with students. And I started inclusivity education after moving to the UK. Just because when I was in Kenya, I was sort of working more freelance. But after coming to the UK, we sort of said, look, I've got to give this a little bit more structure. I don't want to just be this freelance sort of just person, right? But I've always worked within it was, I guess, giving the work that I do some identity, I suppose. And so initially I was working just as an inclusion consultant in terms of supporting students who have a significant discrepancy between their chronological age and their academic achievement. And so these students, could be a a grade 6 student who's got the academic ability of a grade 1 student, and this is across everything, right? And not only academically, the social skills and all of those parts, that are significantly behind, but we can't put them in a grade 1 classroom. And so a lot of my work was about creating hybrid programs that they could then fill those learning gaps while they're still sat in a grade 6 classroom, while they're still able to access things like
Oh, that's
PE and
sweet.
swimming and
Right.
music, all of
So is
those.
this outside of school or you work in schools or
So
both?
I personally don't run the sessions, so I would consult,
Oh,
and
okay.
the students have a one-to-one support teacher that would then run the program and
Mhm.
then follow up with me, which is something I sort of that's something I've always done, but it wasn't the main it wasn't my full identity. I think that's what led me to asking my friends, what should I do? Because I didn't it's very fulfilling, but there was just something. So OG is is now what I fully do. Fully well, kind of fully, because I do have 2 or 3 students that I work with the hybrid program. And so it's just, I guess, services that we offer. So I can support some students in the capacity of as an inclusion consultant, but as a practitioner, I provide OG services, I suppose.
Yeah.
I've got an amazing team of people working under me around the globe again, one in England, one in Kenya, one in Germany, and they're all providing
Good.
OG. So
Yeah.
it's exciting. It's definitely
So
exciting.
how do you find OG in that international perspective in terms of needs or community? How are you, finding students or there's just such a natural need that they come up easily?
I love that you asked me that because Cheryl, it's been so mixed.
Mm. Mm.
So, of course, being Kenyan, and I only moved to the UK in 2017,
Mhm.
I was still established, I suppose.
Right.
And in Kenya, there hasn't been such. There's been I've had quite a bit coming of students coming in from Kenya just through
Mhm.
word of mouth,
Mm.
and
Right.
Kenyans are
Mhm.
very open to something different, something, there is a mindset of, yeah, it's new, I'm willing to give it a try. And
Nice.
so that's been pretty smooth to the extent that now I have a lot of professionals in Kenya saying, how do I train? How do I become an
Amazing.
OG practitioner?
Yeah.
What are
Mhm.
the requirements? What are the trainings?
Right. Mhm.
And so we don't have, or I mean, I'll say this, I'm not sure if there are many fully trained like associate, like members of the academy in Kenya,
Mhm.
but there is an awareness of it.
Mhm.
And so I'm hoping that will change and that there will
Yeah.
be more people on the ground. So all the kids that we work with virtually. We do have one practitioner, as I mentioned, in Kenya, but she's full because you
I
do.
know people tend to fill up so fast. So when you work with people in Kenya, is it in English or is it
It's in
in
English.
their language and you're applying the OG principles to
So
support
the
in a student's
language
home language?
The language of instruction in Kenya is English.
It is. Interesting.
So
Yeah.
English is it's widely spoken, it's spoken in homes. I think especially just as time's going by, I think there are very few children who know
I
what
think
their mother tongue is and they
English is a world language, whether, you
exactly.
know.
But in the UK, it's been a bit of a different story. And it's
How's that?
one that we are working at and it's shifting, it's shifting.
Mhm.
And at some point, I think I had like one family from the UK and the rest were all Kenyans.
Mhm.
And it was like almost saying, "Come on, guys, there's this approach. It's called Orton
Right.
Gillingham." I'm like, it worked. But interestingly, because I do interact quite a bit on social media,
Mhm.
and I once saw a comment saying Orton Gillingham is for American English.
Interesting.
And I thought to myself, that's interesting. And now I think it's about saying, guess what? Americans speak the same language. It's not a
Yeah.
different language. It
I
might be a
wonder if that was more like a dialectical
yeah,
sound difference they were
exactly.
thinking? Okay, which brings me to a question. Do you have to choose different keywords for short vowel sounds? Because this
Yes.
comes up all the time in
My
training, and it's
goodness.
such a
Yes,
fun topic of
absolutely.
conversation of who uses what words and how do you say it and all of that
And
stuff.
and
Mhm.
and it's really interesting because playing with the
Mhm.
accents
Yes.
is a
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
Like I say orange is orange. So for me that starts with an "oh" sound, not as with
Okay.
an "or"
Or yeah.
sound. And it's interesting because if I was to say to some of the students that I work with, and
Mhm.
seated,
Mhm.
sit and seat,
Mm.
because while
Sentences.
English
Mhm.
is the language of instruction in Kenya,
Mhm.
the accents are based around the Swahili language. And in Swahili, there are only 5 vowels,
Interesting.
kind of an o and oo,
Mm, mm.
but the a is sort of an a, but it's sort of a sound between a apple a and u umbrella. I don't know how to describe it, but it sort of sits somewhere between there. And so the accents are influenced by Swahili language, even
Mm,
though
mhm.
English is the language of instruction, which is absolutely
Right.
fine. And
Yeah.
when we get to those, okay, hat versus hut.
Interesting. Or hut, 'cause I heard hut, like the little house people live in, like HUT.
Yes. So
Hat.
hat versus versus, and another one that's mixed up is versus hurt. Like I got hurt.
Yeah.
And because there's no R controlled in Swahili.
Wow. Okay.
It is a
Amazing.
purely phonetic language. It is an extremely transparent language. What you see is what you read and hear.
Mhm.
It is there's no tricks.
Amazing.
It's
Yeah.
nothing.
Wow.
Exactly what you see is what you hear.
Mhm.
What you hear is what you write, and that's it.
Mhm.
And so that's been, I think, every fellow I've worked with, I've come back with how do I work around the accents so that my students
Yeah.
are successful?
Mhm.
And then knowing that with practice they do or they ask and teaching students to ask,
Mm, right.
okay, Miss Nazia, you said this. Do you mean, which one do you mean? Or do you mean this or do
Mhm.
you mean that? And just creating that
Mhm.
advocacy piece. But yes, as far as keywords are concerned, it is tricky because
Mhm.
sometimes they all sound the same.
They
And in the
do.
student's mind, they're the
Well,
same.
and then add the virtual component piece on top of it, I think makes it harder because
Yeah.
when I transitioned to virtual tutoring in COVID, it was a challenge for some of the phonemic awareness activities, some of the auditory drill, SOS. No, I'm
Yeah.
saying this with a, you don't want to spell it for them, but this is what I mean.
Exactly. It's like, how do you spell cat? I mean cat with an
Yeah.
A, and I'm
Yeah.
still starts with a C, and you sort of, might as well just spell
Exactly.
the word for him. No,
Right.
absolutely,
Mhm. Yeah.
absolutely no. And virtual, it is. I think COVID opened up
Oh
people
my gosh.
being open to
It's amazing. Yeah, it
that.
really did because, like, our timelines are a little bit different in terms of training and things because I did my associate and certified when virtual training wasn't an option. And so it's nice. And then really, I think it opens OG up as you are doing to kind of this worldwide perspective or being anywhere, any place. And
Yeah,
it's amazing and fun.
100%. I mean, I say if it wasn't for virtual,
Yeah.
I would not reach any of the children that I reach because we have
Mhm.
children working that we're working with from Kenya, which a lot of kids from Kenya. We have students we're working with in Hong Kong,
Wow. That's
Austria,
amazing.
in Germany, and in the UK away from where I live. I don't have
Mhm.
any OG kids that I'm personally seeing who are in my city.
Yeah, well, rural areas in general, I find from my understanding of the States, especially in Canada, they're just like there's 0 service. Very few people live in rural areas and do this work, so
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the thing is exactly. So I find that virtual has enabled us to access children from
Mhm,
all over the globe, but I'm hoping that it'll encourage professionals from all over the globe to get to
mhm,
it
mhm,
because I think it is lacking, is considered to just be in the US. And so a lot of other countries
mhm.
don't know about it
That's so true. Yeah,
or maybe think that, you have to be US based to do the training. And we're sort of saying, no, you don't. You just can do it anywhere because
exactly. Yeah, and I think there's a misconception too that to be an OG practitioner and having OGA certification is for the United States without knowing and understanding that there are practitioners who are certified with OGA in many places. And as long as we're all following those curriculums, the principles, you know what I mean? All that good stuff, that's what we're looking for. It's not like a location bound
no, it isn't. And
setup at all.
exactly, and the requirements are a bachelor's degree, like, they don't say a bachelor's degree from an American university,
Right.
no, they just
Mhm,
say a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, and that's all, and as long as you can provide the certification from a university, it
mhm,
doesn't really matter, and I think it's so important that we're having these conversations just to demystify it almost and
completely
ensure
agree.
that it is
Yeah.
accessible to students, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
definitely.
what are some, like, urgent and pressing issues that you're seeing in your OG practice, either with the tutors that work with you and the students that you have, or maybe you as a fit in your journey, or maybe you have some things that gnaw at the back of your mind, like, "Oh, this is my problem of practice." What are you kinda
A
seeing in your
problem of practice within my own practice, do you mean? Or
or,
within
like,
just my
with the
OG?
tutors that any of it. Yeah.
I think just going back and apologies if I misanswer your question,
No.
feel free to redirect me to it. But I think one of my big things, and it's been ongoing, is we need more OG around the globe, and I think that is my thing that I'm really struggling with. Not struggling with, but I'm working through, and not working through to make peace, but working through
Mhm.
in trying to make change happen.
Right.
I think also there's also a matter of representation.
Mhm.
I have students who ask me,
Mhm.
are there any other races that teach Orton Gillingham? Because they've seen all my fellows who are Caucasian American women, and then they see me and they're sort of thinking, hang on, the only person we've seen who's racially diverse is you. And
Mhm.
the other day, a student of mine actually said to me, we need to encourage teachers from
Mhm.
all races. And he had this whole speech about diversity in Orton Gillingham. I think that's my big thing is right now trying to say, come on, we need more. I think also for children, it's
Mhm.
so important for them to have that representation, for them to have someone who understands. I feel fortunate that I'm Kenyan, and so I
Mhm.
understand the Kenyan culture. So when I talk to my students,
Exactly. Yeah.
I get what their background is, but we need more people out there
Mhm. Yeah.
who understand when this child has to advocate. Like, I know what advocacy looks like for a Kenyan child versus what advocacy looks like for a British child. And I know with a Kenyan, there's
Mhm.
don't talk back to adults and you don't this and you
Right.
trying
Yeah.
to work through those cultural boundaries and ensuring that,
Mhm.
and I think that representation and understanding is so important. So I think that is
Mhm.
my thing. That's my
Mhm.
thing in terms of trying to
Yeah.
just create that diversity within.
That's amazing. Yeah.
As far as practice is concerned, I'd love to see more children in person.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's
it's a
ever
completely different energy.
yeah.
T
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss seeing kids in person. I just see kids online now. So that's something that I'm sort of hoping that as the awareness of OG grows in the UK, that we
Mhm.
will be able to have more in-person
Mhm.
sessions. Because there's so much more you can do in person. There's
Oh, it is. It is. Even especially kids like with more attention issues in their profile, I find the online piece is really challenging for them. And
Yeah,
kind of don't like the phrase, well, it's better than nothing, because sometimes if they need the literacy instruction, but it's just another
yeah.
screen for them.
And
Yeah.
working on the handwriting is not
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
Virtual.
No, or holding up your notebook, or a
Yeah,
lot of these just pure tech things that can be
yeah,
really
yeah.
challenging.
Yeah, so I think for me, that's as far as one of the things that we're facing is, and I guess it
Mhm.
goes hand in hand, doesn't it? As more awareness is created within the UK, within all these places, and potential of having more kids face to face, hopefully when there is that potential. So let's see, fingers crossed.
Yeah. So, going on that vein, like in schools in the UK, do they do multi-tiered systems of support, or like a tier 3? Like, do they bring in people with OG or even structured literacy if OG isn't well known? Let's say structured literacy.
Yeah.
How do they support kids in school?
So, they don't have any multi-tiered, like, response to intervention, tier 1,
Okay.
tier 3. That isn't a system that's used here in the UK, and I'm hoping that
Okay.
familiarity will increase with RTI and that can be implemented in school. If students, as far as I know, if students are presenting with difficulties in reading and spelling, more than often, they will be moved to a small group for some time, maybe for the first couple of years of primary. But typically, what I see happening is there are a lot of programs, like pre-made programs that are available to schools to purchase, and a lot of schools do purchase
They
the
just do that.
pre-made programs, and they are typically run by a teaching assistant or some professional in the school. And I feel like a bit of change needs to happen there,
Mhm.
because I feel like if children have a specific difficulty, if they've got a specialized difficulty, we need a specialized professional.
I love that phrase. That's amazing. I couldn't agree more. And I understand OG's perspective on approach versus program, but there's some realities of school where sometimes a program is helpful because teachers don't have the training, but
Agreed.
we need to have the training with the program and the approach to
Exactly.
really support the students, because sadly our profiles aren't cookie cutter.
No.
They're a mix of this, that, and the other. And it's
Yeah.
that skilled practitioner piece, the thinking, the next step, diagnostic, prescriptive, all that stuff that's so key. So,
I love that you say that program versus approach, and I think that is critical. So I'm hoping that maybe that sometime soon that
mhm.
in the UK they will have schools that have a reading specialist whose job is only reading specialist, not reading specialist
Mhm.
and PE teacher or anything like that. I think it is a much needed role
Mhm.
because what ends up happening is this children they will go in a small group back to phonics or back to the phonics groups, but that can only happen for so long and eventually it won't. And then children go to high school and then they're still struggling. But what ends up happening is at the final year of high school, you sit a national examination. And if you struggle with reading and spelling and writing and all of that, then you're eligible for what they call exam access arrangements, which are you can have a scribe
Mhm.
or a
Mhm.
reader, extra time. But I feel like that you sit your final exam in year 11.
Okay.
My argument is that that means that the student has encountered 11 years of failure.
Well, right. And how do you access life without someone with you who's a scribe
That
or
is
a reader, or
uh,
like I love this concept. I think it's from Margaret Rawson, like the linguistic competence piece. And as our end goal of OG is not just learning like how to do syllable division or these grapheme phoneme correspondences, but that end goal, which is why I kind of adopted the catchphrase language for life, because how do you bring forth your gifts to the world, reach your potential if you don't have literacy skills? So,
exactly. I mean,
uh,
100%. And I feel like access to tech, like reader pens and all, I
mm,
think they're great. Access to computers, but that should be your back pocket strategy. It shouldn't
Yeah.
be the only way you can access reading
Mhm.
or the only way you can
Right.
communicate your thoughts.
Yeah, exactly.
And here in the UK, we are working with now a good number of kids, I would say.
Mhm. That's
And
amazing.
they're doing
Yeah.
it. Sure,
They're
they're
doing
doing
it.
it.
I know.
Reading and
That's the
writing.
That's the thing. I think there's also that kind of misconception, like the remediation works, but it's on its own time frame and in its own way. And
Yeah,
that's where kind of, with a public system, you do butt heads a bit because everything is kind of in its own box. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And
yeah,
where do you fit kids that are kind of moving in different ways and that need more specialized help?
yeah, yeah. And I think that's, one of the things is in its own time. It's not a quick fix.
Mhm.
It
No,
isn't a quick
no, it's
fix. Go
not.
to page 1, go to page 2, go to page 3, program's
Mhm.
done. We got the best that we could get. All right, good luck.
Mhm.
It's a
Exactly.
long game. It's a
Yeah.
long game, and you've gotta be in it for the long game.
Mhm.
But when you're in it and then you're out of it, you're fine. I'm not saying that you won't struggle with other things, but at least
No,
that piece
exactly.
is
Yeah.
okay.
Well, and not to mention that peace restores that mental health and well-being aspect of the child as well. It
Mhm.
shows them, "I'm capable, I'm not dumb, I'm not a loser because everyone else can read and I can," and that is, like, immeasurable,
Yeah.
right? Like, we can track progress, but that's a different type of success, so
No, absolutely, 100%. I completely agree with you. So fingers crossed
yeah.
that more OG will happen on this side of the globe and that there's more openness, less defensiveness
Yeah.
about it and less resistance and sort of look no one's saying that schools aren't doing their jobs. They are. They're working so hard.
Mhm. With what they
Resource
have,
limited, hoping that this
completely
will
agreed.
have
Yeah.
a couple of head teachers say, "Oh, wait,
Right.
I
Yeah,
wanna
let me
find out
try
more
this.
about this." Yeah,
Exactly, because I think that's what all of us did. We went down that different path and found
yeah,
something else, and there we
yeah.
go.
Definitely,
Okay.
definitely. So fingers crossed.
So you're on your fellow journey. Do you have any other goals for yourself for inclusivity education? I think just the fellow journey itself is like
It's a
with
thing.
daily life and family is a lot, but like
Yeah.
where do you see yourself going?
Right now I'm enjoying the fellow journey and I'm looking at it as an opportunity for me to do my associate and certificate all over again because
It's like that. It really
and it really is. And of course, I did my associate with one fellow, my
Mhm.
cert with another fellow, and my fit trainings with another fellow. And it's
Oh,
just
nice.
interesting to see all
A
these
lot of
different takes on
perspectives.
this exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm really enjoying that. And so my hope
Mhm.
is that through my fit journey, and we're already getting there, I'm happy about it so far. We're going to be able to, that I'm going to be the representation of, "Oh,
Amazing.
someone outside of the US is trained on this? Hang on, I can do it too." So I'm hoping I can be the representation for Kenyans, for people in the
Mhm.
UK to
Mhm.
say, "Okay, come on, guys, join
Right.
me."
Yeah.
Because it's no competition. I'm not gonna say, "Oh, I'm gonna keep this qualification to myself," because
No.
no way I'm gonna
The
be able to
world's big.
I'm never gonna be able to teach
Yeah.
every dyslexic
No.
student
Exactly. Mm,
just in my city, forget the world. So I need more help. And so I'm just hoping that the fit process will inspire other people to join
mhm.
OG because then they'll see, okay, it could be me
Exactly.
too. So fingers crossed. And it's getting there. It's getting there.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think you're so right about enjoying the process and the path because just because of life, my time from associate to certified fit, then while doing the fit, it took a long time, but that's how it went, but it's all good. So,
Yes, no, it has. Sometimes I wonder, did I rush it? Because I literally went bang, 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 bang. But it's
nice.
almost
If I could have, I would have, but I
but
couldn't.
it's like I'm hungry. I'm just like, "No,
Yeah,
I don't wanna
exactly.
wait." "Wait for who? Let's keep
Well, part of
going."
it is like the momentum too, like, "Okay, I'm in the swing of things, let me just keep
Yeah,
going," right?
exactly, 100%. So yes, it's definitely been exciting. So I'm really excited about just what 2026 brings. I'm
Same
hoping at
here.
the end of the year, I can see more Kenyans, more British
Mhm.
professionals just training on OG. That That is my goal. That's my
Amazing.
wish. Even if it's just 1 or 2 people, it's fine.
Well, it's like I believe in the ripples in the pond, and we just keep doing our thing, and we'll see the turnarounds.
No, yeah, definitely. Brilliant.
Okay. So as we wrap up, we have a final question. What's a bit of advice that you would share about OG or dyslexia with people out there is that you think people need to hear or might have been important for you to hear at some point in your journey?
Understand the emotional piece.
Yes, I had to sigh because I love that. Because being a parent of a dyslexic, both of us work with many dyslexics. And I know I'm taking your answer, sorry, but like
No,
that's
go
the thing
ahead.
with people. Like you can remediate anytime. Like it might take longer or more, but it's that emotional piece. Okay, so
Understand
you
the
can finish
emotional
your
piece.
answer.
No, no, and that is literally it. They may seem like they're okay,
I
but
know.
maybe they're not. And don't overload the system because they were successful in one thing. Go, right, they were good. I'm going to
Yeah.
add another 3
Mm-hmm.
because
Right.
you're going to overload this child. And then
Mm-hmm.
down the line, it's all going to fall apart like a house of cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just save, put that emotional piece, priority number 1, emotional piece, priority number 2, what am I teaching?
Right.
Because these children that I work with, that you work with, that we all work with, they know that, hang on, I'm behind and they're trying to
I
push.
do.
And
Mm-hmm.
they're intelligent. They're smart
Very,
kids
very. And they notice everything.
and they notice everything. And reinforcing that you gotta try harder culture, it's just not fair.
No, because they already do
They are
every
already
day,
every day,
and
every
the
day.
work is so hard for them that we can't imagine. Because I was one of those people who probably just learned to read and write, picked it up from
Yeah,
somewhere,
yeah,
but it's the work for them even when they are being remediated and they can gain the skills, it's still so hard. Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I'll give you an example today. Today only, I worked with a student of mine, and I think he was just here, and it's only been a week and a half of school. And I said, right, I'm going to ask you to shift your book. You got to do that 90/45.
Mhm.
That was enough.
Yeah.
Broke down completely.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
was like, this
Mhm.
is hard.
It
This
is
is
hard.
hard.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
my mind, I'm thinking it's just an angle. It's not that big a deal.
And the last straw,
But for
exactly.
him, it was the last straw. It was yet another demand, yet another thing he had to learn all over again, and on top of this and this and this
Yeah.
and this and this.
Yeah.
And at
Yeah.
that moment, it was like, I can't deal with this nausea.
Mhm.
We had to say, okay, maybe we'll do a 5-degree angle. It's fine. And
Exactly.
so understand that emotional piece and consider it every day.
Thank
Definitely.
you. That's an amazing bit of advice to end with. So, thank
Thank
you very much for being here. Really appreciate your time and hearing from you.
thank you.
If you have some contact information, I can include that for people to reach out to you with questions or anything like that. Otherwise, I just thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here and for listening. Language for Life is a real thing. We're here to help our students teach the structure of the language as it is to the students as they are. So, thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to the Learn Literacy podcast, your trusted source for learning how to teach literacy through language and structure. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast with fellow educators and literacy advocates. For more information, visit learnliteracy.com and follow us on social media at LearnLiteracy1 for the latest updates. Together, we can empower every learner. Until next time, remember our goal of language for life.